And gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is going to be a fun evening. I feel it in my bones. Lots of respectful and civil conversation delivered in polite tones across the board. These are the rules. I just think them up and write them down, so we're not responsible here. My name is Christian De Quevedo, and next to me you will find the fine ladies and gentlemen of the neighborhood board. We have got a long evening packed up, so we are going to move through things at a pretty brisk pace this evening. For most speakers, I'm going to ask that you keep your talking points limited to 1 minute, unless stated otherwise. The agenda, unfortunately, was asked to be produced 48 hours in advance of when we normally have to do it by the storm. So some things are out of order. So I will be moving some subjects around. Some people who did not get heard last month will be invited to speak sort of before we get into the main meat and potatoes of the situation. So please don't get upset. We are not infringing on your civil liberties. We are not silencing your voice. We are just trying to make sure those who didn't get heard last time get heard this time. And then we're going to jump right into it. So first things first, Honolulu Fire Department. Do we have a representative from the Honolulu Fire Department here this evening?
Yep.
Good evening. How we doing?
We're good. So yeah, I got our stats for March and then our safety tip for the month. Last month we had 15 activated alarms, 39 medical incidents, 1 motor vehicle collision with pedestrian, and no other fires. Our fire safety tip for the month is about evacuation planning. So ensure you have an emergency preparedness plan in place for situations like environmental emergencies, fires, or natural disasters. Familiarize yourself with at least 2 escape routes from your home. Plan an evacuation path if you must leave your neighborhood due to an emergency. And for more information, visit fire.honolulu.gov. Leave early to avoid getting trapped by fire, smoke, traffic delays. Have a predetermined meeting place, like a trusted neighbor or relative's home, low-risk area shelter, evacuation center. Stay informed, sign up for notifications at hnlalert.gov, official social media, and other vetted sources, and then bring your go bag with essential items on your family or for your family and pets. This is a subset of your all hazards 14-day disaster supply kit. And for more information on that printable checklist, visit honolulu.gov /dem/build-a-kit. And that's all we have for this month. Is there any questions for the fire department?
Does anybody on the board have any questions for the fire department?
Yes. Where was the accident with the pedestrian? What streets?
We don't have that detail, but this is just stats or numbers. But I can look into it for you.
I think that was a corner
Sorry, one more time. Corner of Hunakai and Waiʻalae, we believe. The information has not been confirmed, but we are awaiting our source for more information. Does anybody else have any questions on the board for the gentleman from the Honolulu Fire Department? Does anybody in the community have any questions for the gentleman from the Honolulu Fire Department? Excellent. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, the Honolulu Police Department.
Hi, Law, Lieutenant Nakamura with HPD.
Nakamura, how are we doing this evening, sir?
How you doing, sir? These are stats for March as compared to the previous month. Let's see. Motor vehicle thefts were 3 as compared to 3. Burglaries were 2 as compared to 2. Thefts in general were 13 as compared to 22. And UEMVs, which is theft from autos, was 4 as compared to 3. It's at a total calls for service of 5,697. And further statistical information can be found at HPD's public website, www.honolulupd.org. And then our safety tip for the month is very similar to HFD, but more centered on tsunamis. There's always a constant and an unknown tsunami threat in Hawaii. So it's good to know. If you guys haven't visited that DEM site that the firefighter referred to, it's a really good site. It's honolulu.gov/DEM, Delta Echo Mike. And on that website, you can actually plug in say for example, your home address, or even just as importantly, your work address. And you can see where it falls in as potential evacuation zones. So as with any kind of last minute emergencies, more information beforehand is always better than less. So it can help you prepare in advance. And lastly, go bags. Go bags are very important. So if something does happen at the last minute, you'll be more prepared, and you can get that kind of information, what to put in the bag at honolulu.gov-dm or hnl.info, and even the FEMA website. So that's our safety tip for the month.
Marvelous. Thank you, Lieutenant Nakamura. Does anybody on the board have any questions for the lieutenant? John?
Hi, Lieutenant. Months to date in our sub-districts 3 and 4, our community here, there's been 4 burglaries. And usually we have maybe 1 or 2 for the whole month. Have you noticed an increase throughout the area? I've asked the community policing team for details on them. So, sometimes you get a burglary and it says a garbage can was taken or something, but
Yeah.
so I don't know how severe they were.
Yeah, well, the statistics, I don't know of any particular trend for the Kāhala area offhand, just off the top of my head. But looking at the stats, they remain constant. Yeah, I can't give you any kind of a trend that
Okay, well, good. You haven't heard of one, so
no.
that's a good sign.
I mean, there's always well, this is always a hot button issue, but there's always the constant problem of houses that are, for whatever reasons, that are left vacant, yeah, or that are vacant, and then they get burglarized. And then the follow-on issues that come with that, if you don't have a landowner or that's present, yeah. That
And
can
also
be
construction sites as well.
construction sites. But as far as any specific recent trend for the Kāhala area, I've not heard of any.
All right, thank you.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions for the lieutenant? Does anybody in the neighborhood and community have any questions for the lieutenant? Yes, you absolutely do. Do we have a microphone set up? Or? Oh, excellent. It'll be much harder for you guys to throw stuff at us from all the way back there.
I've got a good arm. This is for the lieutenant. Lieutenant's question has to do with the Pu'upanini Avenue and 22nd Avenue, where the Department of Education has a 6.5 acre lot. On that street, on one side, it's all residential in this part of Kāhala. Yet across the street, it's an area that a lot of people like to use for excess parking, and we have a problem there with abandoned cars, commercial vehicles using it sometimes for maintenance and storage and things like that. And we're concerned they dump trash from it and things like that. It's not appropriate. And we saw that there is an ordinance 15-16.6, storage parking of commercial vehicles prohibited, where if there is a commercial vehicle that weighs over 10,000 pounds or is longer than 20 feet, that it can't park for more than 4 hours at any one spot. We have a vehicle that is parking there overnight or for days at a time. We want to get it out of there for the sake of the community. And also we know that from our many years of being there, if this guy's there too much longer, there's going to be another one, then another one, and then another one. We can't allow that to happen to our neighborhood. So my question is, in terms of enforcing 15-16.6 on the 4-hour parking limit, do you have a suggestion for us as to what's the best way to ask the police department to enforce it? In other words, if we call and they come, I think they need to mark it and then 4 hours later come back again. So is there anything we can or should say or do to the officers that come out? Or is there something about like a shift where we should do it at the beginning of their shift, because that way the officer would be the same guy to come back? Do you have any suggestion for what's the best way that we can ask you to enforce this ordinance?
Yes, there definitely there is a section parking section for that, and you're correct about if it's an oversized vehicle. It is 4 hours, but the key part has to be on public streets. So that's usually where the problem occurs. Where
Yes,
is it parked exactly? So what I would recommend is call
It's on the public street. Mhm.
Yeah, call during the day. And then if you can meet with the officer, just point them out, public street, the standard procedure is exactly what you said. They'll usually mark it and they'll just come back and cite it. And just be aware that we're tasked with the enforcement of the citation of it. The actual removal is a totally different question. So it's like a two-part problem. And then if any vehicle is parked over 24 hours, there's also AV violations that can come into play. Again, we can tag the vehicle, but we're not responsible, or it's not within the HPD's purview to tow the vehicle. That comes under the AV section of the city. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and we understand on the 24-hour, we've had that cat and mouse game where people will not from the neighborhood will park. They mark it, then they come the next day, they move it 10 feet, and then the next day
Yeah.
they move it another 10 feet. The little cat and mouse game, we got it. But the beauty
It
of this
is.
thing is that it's only
It
4
is.
hours. So they can ticket this guy if he's there overnight,
And
presumably.
you'll find people that play that game with the oversized vehicles too. But what's written in the law is written in the law. Yeah. So if they do move it, they move it. That's the difficult problem.
Roger, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Does anybody else in the community have any questions for the lieutenant from the HPD? All right, Lieutenant, thank you so much for your time. It's greatly appreciated.
Aloha.
Have a
See you
good
next
one.
month.
All right, Miss Lorna, you here this evening, Board of Water Supply?
Yes, I am. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. How you doing this evening, Lorna?
I'm doing good, thank you. As
Perfect.
usual, a very quick announcements that I have for this month, for March. Last month we did have one main break, and that was an 8-inch on Halekoa Drive. My announcement this month is about Detector Leak Week, which is occurring now. So the Board of Water Supply has partnered with City Mill to observe Detector Leak Week now until actually this Saturday, so it's a little cut short. The observance encourages residents to wastewater and increase utility bills. One of the most common household leaks is a running toilet that's typically caused by a worn or a faulty flapper. So to help raise awareness, please join. Be close to everybody here. It's going to be at Kāhala Mall this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we're going to be giving out free detection dye tablets.
Lorna,
If you're
I
not able to make
apologize.
it
Your
there,
your
it's
mic
available
cut
at
right
the
after
Board
you
of Water
said
Supply
3.
lobby or even City Mail locations.
Lorna, can you hear
or
us?
the City Halls. And anybody wants more
Lorna,
information, please visit us at www.boardofwatersupply.com.
sorry, I'm so sorry. Lorna, can you hear us?
DALW as in Detect a Leak Week.
I'm on mute. I can assure you I'm not on mute. Lorna, can you hear us? Hello? Can you
hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
It did just go out like just a little bit just now, but you guys heard my spiel?
You cut out right after you said free.
Oh, free toilet leak detection dye tablets.
Exciting.
And that's going to be available at the event this Saturday at Kāhala Mall. Or if you don't make it there, it's available at the Board of Water Supply lobby, City Mill locations, as well as satellite city halls.
And just to remind the good people, Kāhala Mall this Saturday, what time?
It is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
11 a.m. 1.
Yep. And I think there was a bunch of we went on Hawaii News Now this morning. So if anybody caught that, we had some people from the Board of Water Supply talking about Detector Leak Week as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lorna.
Sure.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Lorna from the Board of Water Supply? Does anybody in the community have any questions for Lorna from the Board of Water Supply?
Hi, Lorna. Good evening. Paul Hogan here from Kāhala. Hey, I just last week I found one of the houses down the street was leaking a tremendous amount of water from the sprinkler. So I called in, and you can't get a human being. So I left a message, but nobody has done anything for a week now. What can I do? Because it's at least 100 gallons a day.
Wow. So you're saying you can hear me okay, right? Okay, so you're saying that there was a sprinkler that's broken. You tried calling the Board of Water Supply. You haven't been able to get in touch with anybody, but you've got me now. So I'm going to get that information. Can you give me the address, location of where this is occurring?
Sure. 4240 Kaiko'o Place.
Oh, please. And this is a residential sprinkler?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're seeing this occurring every
It's
day or
been going on
constantly?
for years. I don't live there. I just work around the area, but it's been going on for years.
Okay, so it's on constantly, or is it like certain times that you're seeing this?
There's a stream of water goes down to the drain day
Okay,
and night.
all right. I'm gonna 4240 Kaiko'o Place, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna let our people know about that. I'm gonna look into this and see what's going on. Maybe they got a visit by somebody from the Board of Water Supply, but I'll bring it to somebody's attention. But thank you for that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's one of our neighborhood security watch members. So I'll always like try to get a hold of them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Does anybody else in the community have any questions for Lorna from the Board of Water Supply? Ms. Lorna, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good
You have a
evening.
one. All right, up next, Casey Abe, are you here this evening?
Yes, I am. Good evening,
Casey,
Chair
I
Christian,
just want to
members
warn
of
you
the
right
board.
now, you have a hot contender for Best Civil Employee of the Month, and we'll get into him in a minute, but I want to hear everything that's been going on.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Chair Christian and members of Waiʻalae Kāhala Neighborhood Board. KCR from the State DOT. I apologize for missing last month's meeting, but we were extremely short-handed. At February's meeting, I mentioned about the graffiti and potholes and trash left by the homeless. On February 23rd, I received an email and pictures from our maintenance inspector. The graffiti and pothole were addressed, and during my field inspection this past Tuesday, the trash has been replaced with the overgrowth vegetation. I will work with our maintenance staff on addressing the overgrowth vegetation. Also, at the February's meeting, there was a concern about missing tactile mats at the Kilauea Avenue intersection. During my field inspection this past Tuesday, I also noticed another missing tactile mat at the Hunakai Street intersection. I am working with our maintenance crew on installing the new mats. I also noticed homeless encampments are still out there, so I'll work with our deputy director to have our homeless coordinator offer help to the homeless or ask them to move off the state highways right away. The graffiti artists are still out there, so I will have our maintenance crew paint over their latest artwork. And finally, due to the heavy rainfall from the recent Kona low, there are a lot of potholes within the state highways jurisdiction. So I'll work with our maintenance crew to address them as soon as possible. This concludes my report. I can take any questions at this time.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Casey Abe from the Department of Transportation? Casey, a couple of quick comments I just wanted to make. I saw that some of the potholes that had been opened up in the most recent storm had already been paved over. I wanted to put out a moment of appreciation and say thank you for having the crews out there fixing those up. There are a couple of spots that I believe could still use some attention closer towards what is it, Waiʻalae and the one right next to, what is it, UPS? What's that? Kilauea, thank you. Near Waiʻalae and Kilauea under the underpass. And then right next to the food landing as well, which I believe is Waiʻalae and Hunakai. A couple of bumps and such that if could be smoothed over, I think would make the morning commute much easier for everybody. But yeah, no, you guys were doing a fantastic job getting out there and patching it out without even needing to be asked to. So thank you very much for that. Does anybody in the community have any questions or comments for Casey Abe from the Department of Transportation? Oh, no worries. All right. Well, Casey, thank you so much for your time this evening. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. If you could stop sharing your screen, please. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we're going to jump around real quick as previously disclosed. Let's see, up first. Where did you go? Is anybody from the Hibiscus Half Marathon here online this evening?
Yes, I am here.
Excellent, Jen. Good to hear from you again. How are we this evening?
Good. How are you doing?
Most
Thanks.
excellent. Please
Thanks.
tell us all about the Hibiscus Half Marathon.
Thank you so much for having me. Excuse my dog who likes to go to board meetings with me. The Hibiscus Half Marathon is coming up on May 24th, Sunday, May 24th. This is our 18th year. I sent you guys the map, but I can also share it. Let me see if it actually works. Well, I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not going to share it. But we're going to be running through our usual route through the Kāhala Waiʻalae neighborhoods. No roads will be closed. We will have at least 44 HPD officers out on the course. And the time limit, it starts at 5:30 a.m. and everyone will be completely off the course by 9:30 a.m. And we love running through your neighborhoods and we appreciate all of you very much.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Looks like you guys are well prepared for this. Got all the support and community you need right there. Looks like you guys are also running pretty much the entire Kāhala Waiʻalae neighborhood area. So if you notice anything that needs addressing as you guys are running around, please let us know. Love the feedback. But is anybody here planning on joining the marathon, half marathon?
We also have a 15K and 5 miler for those who don't want to go as far.
Perfect. All right. Well, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. It could be enjoyable. But as always, Jen, thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate it, and we love having these types of events in the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. You have a good one. Up next, do I have anybody from the American Heart Association here this evening? American Heart Association, either online or in person. Let's see. American. Nope. Yeah, I guess, yeah, May. Okay. All right. No worries. We'll move on. We do not have a quorum this evening, so there will be no discussion of the filling of the vacancies. Reports of members' attendance at other meetings. Do we have any meetings to report?
I don't remember.
Yes. We had a meeting which involved myself, John White, Colin, Lee, Aloha McGuffey, Rich, was Rich there? No. Pardon? Oh, yes, but he's not on board, so we don't need to report him. You're safe this time. But we all met to discuss a PIG, which is a permitted interaction group, which is a subcommittee of the neighborhood board as we investigate ways to assist Aloha McGuffey and Colin in their quest to make the community a better place. So that is nothing of note was discussed. I was elected as chair. You're vice chair. Amazing. I love it. All right. So that is out of the way. Elected official reports. Miss Patty Jetty, are you here this evening? The governor's representative, Miss Patty Jetty.
Aloha. Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Patty, how are we doing this evening?
Hey, I'm great. How are you all?
Doing most excellent. What have you got for us?
All right. I've got the governor's newsletter that's going into the chat right now, so I'm looking to that. And for a couple of outstanding issues that we have from the previous meeting, we have a request in to the governor's office for June Yang, his homeless coordinator, to meet with you all. I know you were talking about a meeting or potentially a walkthrough with him, and we're still waiting to hear back about that. I think a lot of our responses are delayed because of these storms, and just it's been kind of full on for a lot of the departments, but we'll let you know when we hear something back from him. And I will defer to Randy Hort, if he's in the room today, on the update from the Department of Education, because he's a little more up to date and hearing from them a little bit more recently than I have regarding the property over there that's in need of landscaping, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. Patty, do you have anything else before we?
No, I'm just here to take anyone's questions back whom has any
Excellent.
questions.
Well, first, Randall, real quick. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Patty Jetty, Governor's representative? Excellent. Randall, please go right ahead.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Patty. Good news on the public sidewalk access on Pupanini Avenue, where the DOE has the 6.5 acre lot lined with trees, shrubs, and large grass areas. The DOE finally weed whacked the weeds along the sidewalk, thus enabling the public to again safely use the public sidewalk. Look, a quick recap. In early December last year, after many months of community anger, they finally cleared and removed the dead trees and vegetation. However, for 4.5 months since then, DOE ignored any further property maintenance on that site. A couple days ago, the weeds were actually shoulder high on me. It was ridiculous and shameful for the DOE allowed the public access to get to such bad condition. However, yesterday on short notice and after a lot of community anger, they suddenly decided to finally get their house maintenance janitorial crew to get out their gas-powered weed whackers. Today, they actually did it. They cleared the brush and restored the public sidewalk access. So here's where it's at. They cut the weeds and used the blowers on the sidewalk. That's great. But the cut weeds were not removed, just blown out and laid along the dirt strip. It actually looks great right now. It's really green, but as soon as those cuttings are going to die, chickens are going to dig through, kiawe trees are already starting to drop seed pods. Look, the DOE must maintain the property. They can't ignore this again and wait another 4.5 months or longer for the community to again get so angry that we start flaming out more PowerPoint slides, get obtuse replies from the DOE Office of Facilities and the Curriculum Office, and come here to again seek help from Patty Jetty. They can't keep getting on this train. This is ridiculous. To Patty herself, though, we contacted you for help on this, and your help through our pleas here and correspondence has actually been fantastic. Patty, you are responsive, professional, kind. Truly, we thank you very, very much. God, I wish you worked for the DOE. But Patty, on both a personal basis and on behalf of the neighborhood, thank you for your help. Like the current status is that we still have two big issues. In the coming months, DOE needs to have constant upkeep and better handle their property that they have a duty to maintain for the public access and public safety. They can't go to sleep at the wheel again for another 4.5 months. And on the larger issue, they need to install some type of permanent landscaping that will better enable for maintenance. For that, we face continued obtuse replies when we ask about the progress. Months ago, we were informed that the DOE facilities office is looking at options or other such statements. But when we press for details with the Office of Curriculum, who is a community contact with the Office of Facilities, the answer is they don't seem to know what's going on. And every month it's like, oh yeah, well they're looking at options, but no details, nothing specific. This is becoming similar to that movie Groundhog Day, where every day it's a repeat going over and over again. We got to get off this train, and we urge the DOE to work with the community and let's get some real action going here besides just a bunch of vague statements of yeah, we're looking at options. And for that, that's the update. But again, at least, goodness gracious, it looks great right now. The community is so happy. The people in baby carriages and the people in the wheelchairs and all that can actually use the sidewalk right now. Because right now it's clean until, and DOE has to stay on it though. And with that, I'll lead into one other thing with one of our other residents, Barry Francis.
Hello, Patty. I'm Barry Francis, also a neighbor there in the area. I wanted to mention again, we have previously, and our representative for this area, Representative Tina Grandinetti, have requested a meeting with DOE officials on site to look at what the options could be for the property, because as a 6.5 acre site that is a good 4.5 acres of it is completely unused. It cries out for some sort of thinking beyond just these constant complaining that the department isn't able to keep it up, which everybody knows they're not able to keep it up. But if there could be a meeting beyond just these constant cleanup requests month after month, it would be very appreciated. And we had hoped that the governor's office might be able to bring some pressure on the department higher ups to take it seriously. We have previously written to the governor's office. Actually, on November 12th of last year, we wrote to Governor Green, and that letter was acknowledged, but we didn't expect to hear back immediately, but the things we said in the letter about this property and its history and what is needed there to be at least thought about, we would like that to be addressed with the department if that was possible. Do you think that's anything that could be achieved somehow?
So Barry, you received essentially a receipt for this email you sent, but you didn't get like a response from someone at DOE. Is that right?
That's quite correct. And the response, the acknowledgement of receipt did say, look, we received so many inquiries, you may not receive a detailed response, and we didn't, sure enough. But I do have the date of it, and I can forward it to you. I think we have Randy Port, Mr. Port has your email from previously. We could forward it to you again. And also Representative Grandinetti wrote to the, I guess is it called the superintendent of the DOE, requesting a meeting. And now that was also back last year and never received a response. And she wrote a follow-up as well and still never received a response to either of those. So it's clearly not a high profile item for the department, but we want to be part of the solution, not just complainers.
Yes, understood. So I can, and thank you for this extra information. So I will take that and share that with them as well as all the other things that I was hearing. Randy and I are in pretty good contact as well.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you. But we can forward you that if that would be helpful. Maybe Mr. Port, Randy can do that.
Sure.
To put it in context, Petty, for the Department of Education, Barry and his wife Allison, who are over here, they don't speak at every meeting, but they're here at pretty much every single meeting we have. We've got Randall Port, of course, who you know, shows up and speaks every single time. His reports are detailed enough to make an attorney blush. And I think they've been more than patient. Tina Grandinetti, one of our House reps, reached out to the DOE twice and wasn't even given the courtesy of a response. Tommy Waters, who's here with us this evening as well, when we were in the area there the other day, he offered to grab a chainsaw and jump out himself. So we have a group of citizens and a politician who wants to do something for the community. It's incredible, but we need the DOE to do more or to get out of the way. It needs to be one or the other, and a lack of response is an unacceptable path forward. So if you would like to drag the superintendent here by his ears, we'd be more than happy to have him. If you'd like to bring anybody in that department capable of making a single decision, we'd be more than happy to have them. So whatever the path forward is, and if you need our help, pushing forward on that path, we are more than happy to provide those resources and those voices, because November 12th, you said? Last year, yeah. And that was not even halfway through this entire process since actually we all sort of started to meet. So they have been what I would consider to be beyond patient with the Department of Education and the way that it sullies the neighborhood with their lack of care for pretty much everything in their path, the citizens and the land that they occupy included. So whoever is over there at the DOE who actually responds or listens to their emails or phone calls or whoever, please tell them to get in contact with us ASAP. We are very interested in speaking with them.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And Chair, I've also shared your offer and information, at least your email contact regarding doing landscaping there. So I just wanted to let you know that I have sent that on a few different occasions to them as well.
Marvelous. And you can include Tommy Waters in that one as well, too. And please tell them that if they do not have a satisfactory response by our next meeting, or at least provide somebody to listen in person or over the internet to the very reasonable complaints that the citizens here have, that I myself will be going down to the Department of Education and I will start knocking on doors until we find somebody who can actually do something. So please tell them that I have a very loud knock, a very loud footstep, and I am very, very impatient. So let's see if we can get a little traction behind them.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep. If you could speak into the microphone just so the people online can hear. Thank you.
Just a quick point of clarification. I hope Patty doesn't mind me doing this, but when she's referencing the landscaping, that was, Chairman, that was your offer to do a landscaping plan for DOE?
To design a
Yeah,
plan
yeah,
and
to
donate
design a plan.
plants.
Yes,
and
yes, sir. Not
irrigation
actually do the landscaping, but the plan.
So we would install low water native plants with minimal maintenance requirements and
Yes, sir.
make it look
And
not
Patty,
bad.
bless her heart, has mentioned that as she said, she has mentioned that to the DOE people she has talked to. We absolutely much appreciate her doing that because when I talked to someone at DOE in Office of Curriculum and I mentioned that, he said, oh, I don't know about that. So there's a very bad breakdowns of communication going on in DOE itself.
Oh,
between
absolutely.
Curriculum and facilities and whatever. But
Yeah.
again, big thank you to Patty for letting them know about your offer for the design plan.
Absolutely, Patty. We appreciate you being the lightning rod, channeling all the energy we've got over here and hopefully putting it right into the DOE's forehead. Thank you very much. We do appreciate that. And I don't believe the DOE was too busy to give themselves raises a couple of months ago. So you can tell the superintendent we're watching closely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly. As always, it is a pleasure to have you. All right, up next, Mayor's Representative, Mr. Han Lee. He's right there. He's putting on his ass-kicking glasses.
Good evening, Chair and board member. I'm Hong Li with Sitting County of Honolulu. I'm happy to share a couple of announcements from the mayor. The first one, city continue response to Kona Low storm recovery website launched. The Sitting County Honolulu continue cleanup and recovery efforts with the community, state, and the federal partners following the storms. To provide a consistent and reliable source of information, the city has launched a recovery website at oneoahu.org. Cleanup operations remain ongoing across Oahu, particularly on the North Shore. Additionally, the previous planned mayor's town hall meetings has all been indefinitely postponed as the administration and departments focus all efforts on addressing the damage from the storms. So I'm going to start to share the response to the issues has been raised from last meeting. The first one I heard is pedestrian crosswalk safety. Chair Dick Vado raised a concern about pedestrian crosswalk at the intersection of Hunakai Street and Waiʻalae Avenue, and requested DTS to collaborate with HDOT to improve the crosswalk. The response is DTS has checked within the city. There's no proposed improvements because it is under state DOT jurisdiction. DTS forwarded the concern to DOT, and we stand ready to offer assistance for whatever improvements DOT will propose. The second concern is from Mr. John White's February 2026 letter. The concerns were raised about the traffic safety near Kāhala Avenue and Diamond Head Road adjacent to the park. DTS responded on this. We encourage you to report all city issues on 311 app. Kāhala Avenue and Diamond Head Road adjacent to the park are included in the rehab of the street, Unit 94, I repeat, Unit 94 project by Department of Design and Construction. As part of this resurfacing project, our department, DTS, is requesting the inclusion of the various traffic safety features consistent with the city's complete street ordinance. Next issue is about flashing beacon. In Mr. Jiang Wai's February 2026 letter, it was reported that a flashing beacon at Kāhala Avenue and the Papu Circle was not working. DTS response is, we encourage you to report all city issue on 311 app. The flashing beacon was fixed in late March 2026. The next two issues are all related to homeless. Chair Dick Votto requested a member of CORE to attend this neighborhood board meeting. I'm happy to announce tonight I have Chief Jeffrey Zucnik of CORE is here with me. I think he is around somewhere, and he's going to speak on those issues next.
Thank you, board. Thank you, board members. My name is Jeff Zuckernick. I'm in the position of Assistant Chief of Operations for the City and County of Honolulu EMS. And what that means is that for the time that I've been in the position, my job was to manage the day-to-day duties of our EMS operations. And one consistent message that I had to Director Ireland was, we have a problem with overutilization of our EMS resources, a significant overutilization. In fact, when I moved here in 1994, Honolulu EMS was only running about 33,000 calls a year. And last year we did about 111,000 calls a year, and the population only increased 25%, which means people are using EMS services 350% more than what we did in 1994 per capita. And I kept on bringing this to the director, and the director recognizes that maybe perhaps I have a talent that he can utilize in our core operations, which is our homeless outreach operation. And he moved me to core just a few months ago. So I'm pretty brand new at this job, right? But let me share with you what the purpose of core is, and then we can blend it into the issues that are happening here in this neighborhood. And by the way, I do have a great appreciation for this. I did sit on a neighborhood board for almost 10 years on the Windward side. CORE has 4 basic functions according to me. Its first function is to provide access to shelter for those people who are unhoused. So how do we do this? Is we have a team of about 14 community health workers that go out in 3 teams on a daily basis, and we hit certain areas that are brought to our attention via the Honolulu 311 app, through our legislation, through telephone calls, through however. And we'll go ahead and we'll hit the zones of which are recognized as problem areas for people, and we'll hit it with our CHWs. And our CHWs are amazing, amazing, amazing people. They're community health workers, and what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll ask the people if they want shelter. And guess what? The answer is most of the time, no. These folks want to be on the street. And guess what? If they are within their full faculty and they understand what's going on, unfortunately, we cannot go ahead and do anything about it. So we're finding that we interview about 180 people on a weekly basis, and we seem to be sheltering, and this is just with 3 teams, we seem to be sheltering about maybe 15 to 20 people a week. We're finding good success with that, believe it or not, even though you may not appreciate those numbers. We're finding great success. Another purpose of what we do is we need to reduce the amount of individuals that go to the hospital. We need to prevent people from going to the hospital that don't go to the hospital. So we have a team of 6 nurses that actually go out and take care of the healthcare needs of those people who are in poor health. And we treat at the scene instead of having an ambulance transport the person to the hospital and take them to transport them to the hospital and clog up the emergency departments. And if anybody's been to an emergency department lately, it is some of our ambulances are sitting in the ER parking lots for 1 to 2 hours waiting for a bed to come open in the ER. That's how significant an issue it is. So we're trying to do our little effort and going ahead and reducing ER admissions. Another purpose is we're supposed to decompress the EMS system. And so we do have 3 ambulances that are regularly staffed that do augment the services that our Honolulu EMS services provides the community by sharing the workload. And we focus mostly on houseless individuals out on the street. We find that if our ambulances go to houseless individuals on the street, and they don't want to go to the hospital, then our EMTs that are on the ambulances also are co-trained, sort of like CHWs, and they can see if we can get them into shelters and not to the emergency department. So we're decompressing the 911 side. And I think the most important thing that we do is we take care of those people in crisis. And those people in crisis is we have a system in place where we find somebody who is on the street and they don't understand the gravity of their medical or psychiatric issues that are happening. We have a system in place where we can actually go ahead and actually quote unquote detain him, so we can take him to either Queens Hospital, Castle Medical Center, or the Behavioral Health Crisis Center in Waiʻalae for a further assessment, and we get these people off the street. Now, how do we get notified of issues? We were notified of an issue that happened with a gentleman by the Kāhala Professional Center. That's where my dentist is. I don't even know the name of the building, but you know the one right by the Starbucks. That's a drive-through Starbucks and all that stuff. And we did go ahead and we did convince that person to get out of the street. And the nice thing that we do when we do get people off the street is we do take all the rubbish with us. We'll take all the rubbish and we'll go ahead and dispose the rubbish, so at least they don't have something to come back to. Now, our team is just about 32 providers, 33 providers that are, we have to address the entire city and county of Honolulu. I do know, and in my brief meetings with our legislators, that they are supportive of what we're doing. I do believe that our administration does see that there's great potential in the core ambulance services, especially now that we're managed with people who do have a significant passion for fixing this or doing what we can to do to fix this. So much so that the other day we just hired our first case manager because what we're finding, exactly like Honolulu Police is finding, that we'll get somebody off the street into the hospital when they're in crisis, and they'll be right back on the street in about 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Just like a Honolulu police officer arrests somebody, and before they're even done with their paperwork, the people are already released. We did hire our first case manager, and that case manager is going to work with us and we're going to work with the emergency departments. So then that person is released from the emergency department. We're notified so that we can get these individuals into like shelters such as Ala Respite, Institute for Human Services, HMO on Sand Island, and a few other places that are Hono, which is city run, that's set in Waipahu right now, maybe moving further west. I took a lot of your time up. Any questions?
I know some of us on the neighborhood board definitely have some questions. Mr. White, if you'd like to go first.
So regarding CORE, last year I called them about someone acting very strangely at Triangle Park, and they were unhygienic, to say the least. And CORE sent out HPD. HPD spoke to the person, and like you said, they don't want shelter. There was space available. I called CORE back, and they said, well, this is privacy stuff. I can't tell you too much, but the person doesn't want to go. What can we do to get forced, I don't know, incarceration, but forced treatment for these people? They're clearly either on drugs or have mental problems, and they're affecting other people. to public safety?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I think I may have, we have a different approach to what happened last year, what's happening right now. We are in a pilot program with Honolulu Police Department's CIT program to enact what is referred to as the MH3 process. It's a mental health 3. It allows for an advanced practice practitioner, a physician, APRN, psychologist, to actually go and interview this person. We team them with special trained police officers, and we have an ambulance crew available. And what we'll do is we'll go out there and we'll actually physically interview the person to see how sick they are. And if the mental health professional does believe that they are in danger to themselves, then the law does allow us to go ahead and bring that person to either Castle Medical Center, Queens Medical Center, Behavioral Health Crisis Center. In fact, we have an operation in Aina right now going on tonight to go ahead and deal with an individual that we believe is in a crisis situation that does not understand how sick they are and doesn't have an appreciation for how sick they can be, and therefore we do go ahead and get them to the hospital involuntarily. So it's a little different now than it was last year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I noticed you said danger to themselves, but also they're impacting the public.
I'm
A lot of
sorry?
these people, well, you said if they're a danger to themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing people who are harassing regular residents or leaving needles on the ground or defecating. And so to me, that's public danger to us, not just necessarily.
Of course. Of course. And that's where we now tag with dedicated Honolulu police officers to go ahead and start the interview so that in case they are a danger to others and the Honolulu Police Department can do their job, they're a danger to themselves, we can do our jobs and we get them to the hospital. And when we get them to the hospital, hopefully they'll keep them in the hospital to do a little further evaluation. And now we have better wraparound services by hiring our case managers to go ahead and when they're done with the hospital, if the hospital believes that they're able to be released, then we can go ahead and get them and maybe get them into some sort of respite shelter.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions? Does anybody in the community have any questions for the gentleman from CORE?
Oh. Okay, broken now. Anyway, thanks for coming, Jeff. I'm just wondering, when you get these guys on the street like that, they're relative of somebody here, right? Do you guys keep track, get a name? So if Joe Blow, you call Jeff Blow on the windward side to say, hey, your brother's down here. Can you do something here and give us a hand? Anything like that?
So we're developing, or the city's developing a repository of information so that many different providers can access the system, provide information in the system, which includes relative information so that we can go ahead. And once we look up somebody in the system, we see that they've been addressed by IHS or other agencies and that all the information's in there, we can go ahead and contact the relatives. But just so you know, most of the time the relatives are done and they don't want to have anything to do with the individuals.
Okay. Cool. All right, thanks.
Miss, if you'd like to approach the microphone.
Just so everybody knows, we do have a dispatch center. The dispatch center's only manned during regular business hours. Going through the Honolulu 311 system, calling us up, we are responsive to the community's requests for service, right? Sometimes, just like was said earlier, we cannot go ahead and share what the disposition is or what happened with the patient due to privacy rights. But I do know, I'm going to let you know that both myself and Dr. Ireland are committed to going ahead and addressing the needs of the community.
Annie, but I love your neighborhood board. Anyway, I do have working with some people that one of them had just Uh, and now she's put in IHS. Okay, now my question to you is, she was under the core. Now, under the core, they didn't really do anything to help her. So I had to take her to the hospital where something was really wrong with her. Then the hospital wanted to release her back into the streets, which I felt like, no, she shouldn't go because she's not a druggie. She just have a problem that needs to be addressed to, that can be helped. So I left her in the hospital and I made sure that the case manager get her some help. Where they did and put her in respite. Respite also put her in IHS. Now I have to pay IHS $150 a month to keep her there to try to help her. Is there something for people in her situation that needs the help? I mean, granted, you can't save everyone on the street, but people like her, is there a way that CORE can help her? Because CORE didn't help her.
I can't comment on the specifics, and if you want me to, later on, I can give you my number and we'll talk about it. I can comment is that, what Dr. Ireland, our director, is referring to CORE right now is version 2.0. And we are really changing the way that we go ahead and address the community needs and address and respond to community needs and do the good work that our amazing community health workers, EMTs, and nurses are doing, and our caseworker right now is doing. So I'm sorry, I can't comment, but I can tell you though that now we are we're changing the way that we do business. We're learning by previous omissions and errors and mistakes. The director and myself are both committed to going ahead and making sure that the right thing is done when we can do the right thing, or when the right thing is done for the right person, right reason, right time.
Does anybody else in the community have any questions? You, miss.
Okay, hi. So my name is Shalea. I'm from the Ocean Alliance Project organization where we do coral restoration outside of Kāhala and Waiʻalae. I'm just asking, so I have a couple questions. First question is, do you guys do some kind of survey where you try to understand why these people don't want to go into the shelters? Like, understand there is like drugs is a factor. I understand that's like maybe they're worried that their area will be taken over by somebody else that they're, that they usually occupy. But have you guys done a survey to figure out the reason, like what is the main reason why people aren't taking advantage of that opportunity? And then my second question is there some kind of percentage or statistics that you guys have to show like the local ratio versus like the people from the continent? Because if we're talking about houses community, like a lot of the houses community are people that are flown here from the continent. So it's like we want to start it. If you guys are trying to really figure out how to solve that problem, we got to start at where it's rooting from. And if that's a big thing that it went up 350% since 1990 something, then it's like, okay, we have a big issue with that. But have you guys ever thought of where that problem starts from?
Yeah, thank you very much for those questions. Second question is the surveys, or the second question is, there's an agency out there that's run by the other Laura Thielen. It's called Partners in Care, and they're very active in assessing where people are coming from, what the makeup of the people in the houses community is, and I can get you her information so that you can look if I don't know the answer. I think the number one reason that I'm finding my short 2 months at this, 3 months at this job, why people don't want shelters, they don't want rules. They don't want to be in shelters with rules. And those shelters do come with many, many, many rules. And they just don't want to be on top of that. They can't have their drugs and they can't have their alcohol while in shelters, and they can't be as free as they want to be. We find it's even more significant on the West Side and the North Shore. On the West Side and on the North Shore, they will not move from where they're at. Just before Kona 1, I went up and down the Waiʻalae coast and telling people that it's going to be really, really, really bad. And they said, I'm staying. I'm not going. They love the land. They love where they're at. They don't trust anybody else beyond their little social circles and all this stuff, and they don't want to move. But we find a significant number of people coming from the mainland who are on one-way tickets here, who you just go around Waiʻalae and you'll see Colorado, New York, Arizona, Chicago, and all these places out on the street all the time. And I don't have an answer on how to solve that. But I do know that IHS does have a very vibrant program of getting people back to the mainland.
How much does it cost our systems when one of those people is flown over in a given year?
Oh, I can't even comment. It's for ooh, I can't. I can get the answer for you on that one.
$1 million, $2 million
for each individual?
Yeah.
Well,
Medical
our
services,
core operations costing $3 million a year to the taxpayer. Exciting news is that we do have a HUD grant that's going to be coming through here in a couple months that's going to allow us to expand the scope of services that we do for the community. But it's and in California, it's billions of dollars. But I'll get the information to you.
I think an important first step to making sure those who are burdening us with the cost is figuring out what that cost is, so we can turn around and make sure that they pay their share for it. I agree with the woman over there. I have a lot of friends who work for Hawaiian Airlines and some of the other outer island airlines, and they're always commenting about how many homeless folks are on the flights coming over and on the flights coming over. And you can, I think, as a community, agree that we can generally tell when somebody is new in the homeless community, and they stand out, and before they either disappear or something happens to them. Again, I'd like to agree with what you said as well, where if I think we have enough of our own problems. And so, your department being unfairly burdened, our state being unfairly burdened, our community being unfairly burdened with other states' problems that for the cool price of probably $1,500 a head, they can solve. I don't understand why there's a conversation happening instead of us billing them.
Yeah, I can't comment though. Is one of the things I mentioned is what we want to do is we want to reduce the amount of people who go revisit the emergency department. And there are a number of studies that I do know about that if an EMS community invests in preventing people from returning back to the emergency department, $100,000 hospital bill becomes a $33,000 charge to the community. So therefore, the program that we're providing, or we're going to be providing for the city and county of Honolulu here in the near future, which is a mobile integrated health program, will significantly go ahead and reduce the costs associated with healthcare and a burden on the taxpayer.
And with your new governance in this program and the new oversight and the new funds and the let's call it a facelift of this program sort of being reintroduced into the community on a good foot. When we witness somebody experience a health crisis, somebody in need or discomfort who is in a homeless state, how should we approach it? Just very simply, what do we do? How do we get through the list?
Sure. So if anybody's experiencing a medical emergency, it's always best to call 911. But if it's somebody who you see day in and day out with the same behavior and doesn't appear to be in any medical emergency, either go through the 311 website or to call CORE directly. We will go ahead and we had 4 requests. This is yesterday. We did 4. We fulfilled the Forest Service request today. So we go out there, we take care of it. Unfortunately, folks, we get out there, and just because people are acting a little weird doesn't mean, doesn't mean their constitutional rights, their civil rights should be violated by us taking them to the hospital. There's a defined checklist on what we can do when a person is in crisis.
Just in the interest of moving things along this evening, so everybody gets an opportunity to speak and be heard, I'm going to move us along from this, but I would ask that you stay afterwards. I would love to speak with you for a little bit, but we look forward to seeing what your program can do in the community, and we'll be watching with great interest to see the turnaround on this. Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate that. Mr. Hanley, did you have anything else that you wanted to add in before?
No, I don't have any.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming this evening. Your presence is greatly welcomed. We appreciate it. Chief, thank you again for your time as well. We love it. All right, on to the next. Ladies and gentlemen, it is election season, and I myself am not the biggest fan of politicians. However, I will say we as this board have been very privileged, very proud, and very happy to welcome a variety of different politicians here in person. I will point out that we have one of the big ones with us this evening. Chair Waters, if you'd like to join us at the microphone, please.
What an introduction. Hello, everybody. Hello, Chair. Good to see you again. Got a number of things I want to talk about, but this facility is really, really nice, and it's air conditioned. The lights we finally got working, but wouldn't it be nice to have the Kāhala Neighborhood Board back in Kāhala, right? I remember we used to have it at the United Methodist Church, and let's try to see if we can get it back there. My understanding is they want us back there, just that the city doesn't want to sign documents saying that we're not going to hold them harmless, right? So I'm going to work, if you guys are open to it, I'll work with the neighborhood board office to see if we can get the city to sign off on that.
We'd like the KCC Culinary School as our first choice.
Ooh, I like that too.
Yeah.
That's a good spot. Okay, couple of things. Number one, thank you guys for your help in killing Senate Bill 2423. I see it later on your calendar, but for those of you, I talked about it last night at the Kaimuki Neighborhood Board. By the way, this is my third neighborhood board this week. Waikiki, Kaimuki, and tonight. But Senate Bill 2423 would allow by right a landowner to subdivide their property down to 2,500 square feet. So a lot of properties in Kāhala are 1,000 square feet. That means you could subdivide it into 4 properties, put 4 houses there with 2 ADUs per house. And that would be by right. It wouldn't come before the council. The mayor couldn't do it. It'd be like you automatically get it because that's what the state law said. So I wrote a letter to each and every, or emailed each and every neighborhood board on the island. You guys stepped up. So thank you. The drafters of the bill pulled it. So they're going to come back again though, guys. So we got to be vigilant. We got to keep on this. The idea really was to try to combat affordable housing, but that's not the way to do it. So thank you for your vigilance there. Number 2, after you and I met, Chair, last week, we talked to one of the board members about a permitted interaction group dealing with the primary urban core development plan. So as you guys know, there's a general plan that deals with the whole island, and it's broken up into development plans and sustainable community plans. There's 2, the idea for the general plan is that we're going to guide future development in the urban core and in the EVA area. Kāhala is in the urban core. So this came through my office. I worked really hard with my staff to say, hey, when it was introduced to us at the council, they wanted to allow buildings above Kāhala Mall, buildings above Asagio's, right? That could go up and, when I talk to folks in the community, they're like, no, we don't want that. And those of you who live in Maunalani Heights, your view would have been ruined because you would have had a bunch of buildings over Kāhala Mall. So we lowered that and said, no, you got to keep it the way it is. But I'm happy to work with you folks to see if you want to further amend the primary urban core development plan. Right next to Kāhala is, like Waiʻalae and whatnot. They're in the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan. So I worked with people from that side of the island, which is still in my district, to say, hey, we don't want any future growth on that side of the island. The only place you could actually build more housing is above the town center, or the off of Hawaii Kai Drive, or the next one over, that shopping center. That's the only place you're allowed to build homes according to the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan. Now, folks in Kāhala wanted to be part of the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan rather than the Primary Urban Core Development Plan. I couldn't get it done because partly was the folks on that side of the island didn't want Kāhala included. So what I did was I amended the Urban Core Development Plan to limit the amount of growth you can have in Kāhala. But I'm happy to work with you folks and your permitted interaction group, and we can talk more about that. Third, homelessness. So Chair DiCovito and I took out Roy Miyahira, the city homeless director, and we walked through and drove through Kāhala, and Chair pointed out to me some amazing things. And when I say amazing, not in a good way. So I grew up in Kāhala on Kolohala Street. I lived in the Kāhala Towers. I used to live on Coco Drive, right above Paula when you come down above Maumai Park. And I graduated from Kamehameha schools, catch the bus every day from school to Kāhala, and I'd pass by that graveyard thousands, if not thousands of times. Did you guys know, the graveyard where the Waiʻalae Drive-In used to be? There's a culvert that goes through there. I never even knew. You got guys living in the culvert. It's crazy. So where's the core guy? You know what you gotta do? You gotta go up. Kahi Pakaro. You need help. Come, we're gonna take you. One day, you gotta come back the next day. Kahi Pakaro. You need help. You gotta come. Right? Okay, Bob, you need help. You got to do it 35 times. That's what IHS does. They have this thing called a rainbow bus. You got to go 35 times before the guy's finally going to say, yeah, okay, leave me alone. I'll go with you. Right? We saw this guy on this bike who wanted to go down into the culvert. He didn't go because we were standing there. Then we see him down at Waiʻalae Park, right? We know who these guys are. Where's core? We got to keep bugging these guys over and over and over again. I got a bill that would require substance abuse counseling and or mental health counseling if you're picked up in a park. I went and talked, they had park closure, revised ordinance 10-1.3. There's a law, right? You cannot stay in the park overnight in some cases. But the cops pick you up, right? Take you to court. The next day, the guy pleads guilty and he's out, credit for time served, right back at the park. So I have a bill, so I wanted to make sure the judges would enforce it. So I met with Rod Miley, then administrative officer of the court. He works right under the Supreme Court Justice. And Rod Miley told me, Tommy, don't introduce the bill because we don't want it. We should have the civil section to it, not a criminal section. But those of us know you get the carrot and the stick, right? The carrot's not working. You need the stick. So we got a new Chief Justice. He was just appointed by the governor. I'm going to talk to whoever his guy is and see if we can get their support. Because if we get the state judiciary involved, they got the deeper pockets than the city, right? Get those guys, the probation department, to actually administer that. Because it's either mental illness or it's drugs and alcohol. And usually the guys doing the drugs and alcohol, they don't want to go into treatment. They don't want to live someplace where there's rules, right? Okay, there's that. The fourth thing I wanted to talk about was the archery dojo. I know that's on here too, and it's been a pretty controversial thing. And Bob, I want to look you in the eye and tell you this. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the hard work that you're working on. But the fact of the matter is, when you get plenty of people like this, George wearing one red t-shirt and these other guys, the community doesn't feel it's a right place, right place. And I know early on, I told you I supported you, but in good conscience, I cannot. I cannot. I want to tell you that straight up. But to the extent that you can, if you can win these guys over, then have a win-win situation and work with them, ask them what they want, what they need, because that's really the best thing to do. So, yeah, just wanted to tell you that straight up. But okay, that's the third thing. That was the fourth thing. Fifth thing, at the city council, we just passed resolution 26-62, which is the property tax rates for the city. So for residential property owners and business owners, it's going to remain the same, right? The mayor and I, we agreed, the council agrees not to raise property taxes, which is great. Now, that's not to say that your property tax is not going to go up depending on what your property value was appraised at. I have no control over that, unfortunately. But what I have done in the past 2 times now, I raised the homeowner's exemption. Yeah, raised it for everybody, but especially kupuna. So, that's something we can look at again. Since I've been the chair, we've raised it twice, the homeowner's exemption. So that kind of takes care of sometimes when your property value goes up, you get a higher homeowner's exemption. I think that's it. The last thing is, no, I guess that's it. Available for questions.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Chair Toe?
Hi, any update on the shopping cart initiative?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Are you supportive of that? So yes, I gave it to the one of the commanders for HPD, and I said, can you please look at this for me and figure out any possible loopholes in this? Because the key is, and what we're talking about is, how homeless folks have shopping carts. They're all stolen, by the way. It says Foodland right on there at times. And I'm like, officer, why can't you just take the cart? He's like, no, unless Foodland comes in and says, that's my cart, which Foodland doesn't want to do, it belongs to the homeless guy, even though it says Foodland on it. But anyway, so one of the things we talked about was, because we would come in and do these enforcements and guys would just fill up the shopping cart, move 2 streets down and then come right back, right? So I got a bill that would ban shopping carts outside of the shopping center property. Kind of drastic, because I know, especially in Kāhala, you got some kupuna who take the shopping cart home and then come back. But to answer your question directly, the issue is, how do we define shopping cart? Right? As ridiculous as that is, I don't want to have any loopholes in this, right? We got to define what a shopping cart is, just so that they cannot say, well, that's not one shopping cart. Even though it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. We got to make sure. So that's the only thing. I'm waiting for HPD to come back. But if I introduce you, will you promise to come and testify in favor of it? Okay. Okay. Yes. So we're close.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions for Chair Waters? Does anybody in the community have any questions for Chair Waters? No? We'll do Dallin and then Barry. If you want to stand behind him.
Is this microphone working? Perfect. I have one question, short, sweet, and to the point. Why did you raise my bus fare?
Well, I didn't raise bus fares for kupuna. Oh, I
Looks
thought
like
you,
a kupuna?
well, no, but you know what? The city subsidized the bus a lot.
$990 a year is a lot of money. I could buy everybody here a bento for $990 and have a lot to spare.
Yeah. When I grew up, I rode the bus everywhere. It was a dime.
So
And
you
it
should
went up to
understand how
25
important the
cents.
bus is to me.
Yeah. Sorry, brother. I'm sorry. But, you know what? We didn't raise it for kupuna, and that was the compromise. But, you know, well, I'll leave it at that.
How much do you make a year, by the way?
It's public knowledge.
I'll ask that we keep the conversation civil, please,
Okay,
Dallin.
thank you.
Thank you. I would like to hammer on Dallin's point, though, real quick, Chair. When I myself was a student, transportation, the University of Hawaii charges a ton of money for parking at their facilities. And, you know, a lot of that money, I still owe $92,000 in student loan debts currently. And part of that is $600 a semester in UH parking fees, I believe. So
No, I hear you too, but the Department of Transportation Services came to us and we got Hongli, I think still here. We got to pay for the mechanics. We got to pay for the bus drivers. We got to pay for upkeeping of the bus. It is really expensive to do. I felt bad doing it, brother. I did, and I'm sorry. But sometimes you got to make those hard decisions. And ultimately, I was just trying to take care of the kupuna and not raise their funds. But sorry, man.
thank you. Barry, if you can go ahead.
Question, Tommy, about back in 2024, there was a Senate bill, I think it was 3202, which you and others thankfully tried to oppose, but they passed it anyway, I believe. What I think isn't it due to come into effect at the end of this year? And can you update on what's being done with that? I mean, I've opposed it every chance I get, but it's the law. So if you can update us.
Absolutely. So Senate Bill 3202 was 2 years ago, which had both requiring the city to allow 2 ADUs on your property instead of just one. Plus, in that bill, it also allowed for a property owner to subdivide their property down to 2,500 square feet, both of those. So I was successful in getting the legislature to take out the part about the subdivision. But what remained was allowing 2 ADUs. Every county has to pass legislation to allow that. So what we did in our council, we said, okay, you have to have 2, but one of them gotta be family. It was that's what the Honolulu City Council did. One of them has to be family, because what we found is if you got a bunch of strangers living in these units with more cars and it's more strange people there in the neighborhood, it's less desirable. But if you have family there, family where you know who these people are, it's the community, I think, would accept it more. So we already passed Bill 64, which says, yep, you have 2, but one of them has to be an Ohana unit and the other can be rented out to strangers. You still have to have setbacks, right? You cannot build it right on the street. Yeah, Honolulu has a requirement that you have to have off-street parking. That's something that I'm actually curious to see what the community thinks about it, because we do have a housing shortage and having an AD on your property can help alleviate part of that problem. But, you know, some people can't do it because they can't provide off-street parking, right? So they don't build it. Should we take that requirement out or keep that requirement in, right? I represent you guys. You got to tell me what you want me to do as far as that's concerned.
Opinions going once, going twice.
Can I speak? Just to follow up on that, and because it relates to your bus matter. Okay, when I look at the urban plan, even the East Honolulu plans that you talked about, both of them mention they're not going to be increasing traffic capacity, street capacity for cars. In fact, if anything, they're going to be reducing it, you know, by making, well, streets safer, you know, removing lanes for bicycles, which are often empty. Unfortunately, they don't talk about e-bikes enough, which I think is the future that people actually might do. But related to that is parking also. We're increasing the density by adding these ADUs. And these people will require cars. And in some areas, at least, we're reducing street parking. How's that all going to come together? It sounds like there's a big inconsistency. I just want to make that point.
No, thank you for that.
I see we have a few other community members who'd like to speak and be heard.
Hi, Tommy. I want to thank you so much for supporting the community and hearing us, because we feel that at our board, Kāhala board, you guys are great, but at our board, most of our board members, except lovely Audrey and two others, they did not hear our voices, and they want to vote what they want, but they're not listening to the community and not representing us. And yesterday we worked so hard on a resolution. All of us community members were working so hard telling the community about what was going on, and then to have our resolution just voted against when it was very obvious that some members on the board didn't even read the resolution before the meeting, and they didn't even read the resolution before they voted against it. So that was heartbreaking for us to see that. And Audrey worked so hard on that resolution to help us, because she knew that even though she doesn't live near the park, she knew that she thought, well, what if this was happening at our park? And this is the same thing. This is why we're here at Kāhala, because this could happen at anybody's park, and for them not to listen to the people who live near the park. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I understand it's a city park, but we live right next to the park. So, thank you so much for doing the survey, for supporting us. We really appreciate you. And, you have all our votes. Thank you.
Miss, do you have a question?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, when you took office, I just left as a legislative agent. But anyway, my question is, when you first started, you guys had a massive raise. And now there's another raise now that going to be walking out. Who wrote that resolution for that raise? Who brought up that raise? I know you were very active in that at one point. So now who's taking over and who's asking for that raise? Because as a legislative aide, and I see what's going on behind the doors, I mean, that's massive. I mean, I don't personally, I mean, the people should really know what is going on, because that's their tax money. So I just wanted to voice that.
No, I appreciate that very much. So by charter, so the state has a constitution, the city has what's called a charter. In order in the charter, it's approved by voters. Yeah. And the charter has what's called a salary commission. The salary commission dictates what the city council salary is, what the mayor's salary is, what the prosecutor's salary is, what all the director's salary is, and they determine what it is, right? So people got really upset a few years ago when the salary commission gave us a 64% raise. So we actually wrote a charter amendment capping it, so that that could never happen again. Yeah, so we capped it, well, the community capped it at 5% and said that it should be tied to whatever the public service unions are getting. So UPW and HGEA, SHOPO, and Teamsters in the case of the bus drivers, that it should be the average of that. Right? Because basically what happened before, and this was before I even got here, the council used to deny the raise every year for like 19 years. So you get council members, and I'll tell you the truth, I probably had to spend about $60,000 of my savings account supplementing my income over the last 6 years just to make ends meet. But I love this community. I love this job. That's why I said, it's worth it. I'll pay for my own out of pocket, right? you guys all know how expensive it is, right? With a mortgage, car insurance. And anyway, but my point for supporting this also is you want people to serve, right? It is a difficult job. It's not easy coming here and standing there, and you guys are super nice. So, but some people aren't that nice. But and most professionals, I was thinking of running for Congress a few years ago, and I tried to find people to run for my seat. And most lawyers and others, professionals, they didn't want to do it. They're like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, why? A lot of people just don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. But a lot of people also said, I can't afford to do that. They can't afford to do this job, right? So how do you get professionals, people with experience, right? You're going to end up with a bunch of either really young people or retirees, and you don't get professionals to do this job because they just can't afford to do it. Once you have kids, once you have a house, it's really, really difficult to make ends meet on that, what was that pay? So at this point, the council doesn't have control of that. Personally, that I don't know where they came up with the 4.7 increase. Honestly, I don't know, right? That seems higher than the 3.5% that the HGA and UPW got, right? But I plan to either donate that recent raise or just not take it. Yeah. Because what we received last year was good enough. Yeah. I can't speak for the other council members though. Yeah. But that's my plan.
Thank you for answering that head on. Does anybody else in the community have any questions for the chair before we and you, Miss?
So actually, this question is for you directly. So what can we do to actually offset this archery? So this mayor's office just released a news today about yesterday's meeting. Look like they're gonna moving forward. Sounds like this to us. It's very disappointing. So is there anything else? Even the community have 80% objection. They're still gonna decide moving forward. So what can we do to stop that?
Well,
Anything else we can do up to this point?
Yeah, I did see a glimmer of hope last night. I was surprised myself when I saw the vote, but please participate in the permitted interaction group. It's
Yes,
gonna
we
take,
work in the
it's gonna take
volunteer,
some
yes.
effort, but you gotta participate,
Just-
right? And it's a draft environmental assessment.
Okay.
So you folks really should weigh in and write
Not to
in.
give up, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think it's a done deal. And I don't know Bob well, but he's a nice man. See if you can work with him as well.
I suppose he's a nice man for sure, but just this particular case, I just don't understand. It's a small park in a very crowded area. Why would you want to take away? Why? I don't understand. I want to look into your eye, ask. It's a small space.
Well,
We have such a crowded neighborhood.
I would ask that you keep your questions to the
Yeah.
council, Chair, while
Sorry.
you
Now,
ask these.
You mentioned that Bob is a nice person. I don't know him at all. I assume that he's a very nice person if we're not in this kind of situation.
I honestly
But,
think he means well, but it's later on in the agenda. I'm not running the meeting.
but-
It is later on the agenda. I'm sure the chair is going to give you and Bob the opportunity to speak tonight. Right, Chair? All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before you go, real quick, I do want to give a brief moment of appreciation. This week, Chair Waters and several of his staff members, as well as the state head of the homeless response force, Roy
Mayor, he's a city
Yes.
homeless coordinator.
Yep, homeless city coordinator. Based on our community concerns and the feedback that they've been getting from us here at the neighborhood board and from all of you showing up every month, came to my house, picked me up, And for about 2.5 hours, we drove around in a van. We went to all of the areas that I could think of where we've had negative interactions with the homeless community, where they've been endangering the community. They've been having mental health crises, areas where they have been in need of help. And I really just want to say thank you for, I don't know any other politician who would do anything like that. They took the time to write down all of my concerns. Aloha McGuffey, you spoke to her on the phone for over 30 minutes in the rain, at like a 5 o'clock on a Friday as a storm is coming in. It was a bizarre situation, but you know, I don't know a lot of politicians who would have done anything like that. So I do appreciate you, and I appreciate the time and your staff who took time out of their day to meet and just, you know, care. So thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, we are going to keep dancing on. Let's move. Representative Mark Hashem, do you have a representative here this evening?
Yes, hi Chair. It's Jane Taylor representing Representative Mark Hashem, District 19 from the House.
Ms. Taylor, this makes 4 in a row. You've connected 4. I love it.
Thank you. Nice to see you all. Thanks for having me. Just a quick wrap up. We are starting conference next week. So in our committee, Waterland, we have 23 Senate bills and 23 House bills that we'll be working on. I did want to call out 2 different bills that if people are interested in, to please go and take a look at them. One is SB 2599. That has to do with the stadium development. So if you have any concerns or any projects or you want to look into that, that would be a good bill to take a look at. For coral reef restoration, there are 2 bills, SB 2972 and HB 2599. Both of those involve some hard work with DLNR and DAR. The Senate bill is for coral reef restoration specifically on Oahu, so I think that's very important. And the House bill requires DLNR to come up with a plan to manage and maintain the reefs and the native species, to set goals and make plans. So for a beach community like Kāhala, I think these are important bills. Just take a look when you have some time and get involved and learn a little bit more about these 2 issues that are coming up. I wanted to call out how much our constituents are really using the mobile app 311 that Chair Waters was talking about. We think it's an awesome tool. I did want to mention that if there are kapuna or people that are technically challenged, please call our office. We'll be happy to assist you in getting in touch with the different departments in regards to storm drain issues, road issues, anything like that, if you're not someone that wants to use the 311 mobile app. But it is a very, very great tool. I'm here for any questions. I won't keep you too long.
Thank you kindly, Ms. Taylor. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Representative Mark Hashem's Representative Ms. Taylor? Anybody in the community have any questions for Representative Mark Hashem? Ms. Taylor, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
All right, thanks all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Up next, Representative Tina Grandinetti. House Representative Tina Grandinetti, are you here? All right. Tina Grandinetti texted me earlier this evening saying she potentially might not be able to make it. However, big update is Art at the Capitol tomorrow from 4 to 8:30 p.m. Representative Grandinetti would like to inform everybody that it is a mini art festival at the Capitol, and her office, specifically room 304, will be open to show the art collections on loan from the State Foundation on Cultural and the Arts. There will be food, there will be performance, there will be joy, and there will be a good time. So for those of you who can make it, tomorrow, State Capitol, 4 to 8:30, be there, be square. Moving on, up next, Senator Stanley Chang. Are you a representative here this evening?
A representative is here. Good to be here with you all. Good evening, Chair, members of the board.
Good to see you again.
Members of the community especially. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to be here. Happy to provide a very brief update. I work hard to honor and respect the 3-minute limitation that's on the agenda. So I want to cover 3 quick areas, and then I'll finish where you just landed with Rep. Grandinetti and talk about the exciting opportunity to come hang out with us tomorrow night in room 226. But I do want to briefly touch on homelessness. We've been getting lots of calls about power outages, and then of course share some resources, particularly relative to the recent storm-related damages and relief opportunities. So thank you for the discussion and questions tonight. Our office receives a significant number of calls about the encampments, which I know we discussed last month across the district, particularly on the public sidewalks. Those of you who have called or showed up have had an opportunity to interface with Ruben, our office manager, who's been actively coordinating with some of the offices that are represented here tonight. I know he's made calls to the mayor's office, had discussions with the governor's office, as a senator, and the HPD commission to address public safety and humanitarian concerns relative to this issue. So we do also want to thank HPD for its enforcement actions that have been conducted and the clearing of encampments. However, as we and many of us have observed personally, these encampments do tend to reappear, which underscores the limitations of enforcement alone. I really appreciate, again, some of the back and forth. I won't repeat it. But if you've even been following our weekly housing newsletter, Senator shared a case study not long ago, just to reiterate some of the discussion about, folks, don't want rules or the isolation of formal housing and struggle with, sobriety expectations, lease terms, building policies, and so forth. Of course, the longer term strategy, my 5-year-old loves when I give these updates. She's cheering for me on the other side of the room. Thank you. Gave me a picture to share it with you all. The longer term strategy, good night, sweetie, remains transitioning individuals into some of these housing villages that provide sustained, supportive wraparound services. I was asked by Ruben to share at this time implementation of that plan is facing legal challenges, which has slowed progress. So he says we are continuing to work closely with all relevant agencies to identify a path forward that is both effective and legally sound. Power outages, I've been hit big by this one as well, personally. So we have been in touch with HECO. They are currently assessing infrastructure issues in the area. Their teams are identifying overhead line sections that connect to underground systems and may require maintenance. One of the main challenges is that much of this infrastructure is underground, which makes locating and repairing faults more complex and time consuming. So it sounds like they're compiling a list of projects to address outages. They seemed really grateful to have folks give them a call to report when there are outages. So they gave us that 855 number, and I think there's also a website that they provided us with. It seems like it helps them to know when those are happening, especially since we got some calls from folks, including, again, myself, who had outages where there didn't seem to be particularly heavy wind or storms. It seemed a bit random, honestly. With regard to the storms, as you know, it sounds like we've made some progress with the governor's emergency proclamations and requests from the federal government. But just to give you a preview, and I'll drop again a link in the chat to senatorchang.com where you can subscribe to our weekly and monthly newsletters. We've got a big section in our next newsletter talking about some of the relief options for impacted homeowners. I know we've had folks even just there on 16th Avenue who were seriously affected by one of the systems that came through. So number of options and resources that we've been trying to, of course, help pull for our constituents. And of course, we encourage you to, if you've got flood insurance, reach out to them as soon as possible. You can reach out to the Federal Housing Administration, Hawaii Department of Commerce, Consumer Affairs can provide guidance and assistance as well. So with that, just want to thank you all so much for your engagement in the discussion. We are happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. I think this is the last you'll see of me. I go away with a session. I think when we get back next month, we'll be on the other side of session. So thanks from me personally to everyone who's taken the time to call and engage with us throughout the year, especially since I came on in December, sharing your insights, ideas, concerns, questions, requests, and especially your input on legislation. It really does make a difference in our work and is always top of our weekly staff alignment agenda, if not something that we get to check in with Senator on in real time and throughout the day. So we're really grateful for your partnership and serving our neighbors. And yeah, as was just mentioned, we're heading into conference next week. So in the meantime, if you need to connect with us, all of our details are on senatorchang.com. You can subscribe to those newsletters. And then we just want to remind you, yeah, the public access room is really an invaluable resource. So if you're stopping by Art at the Capitol, come see us in 226. And otherwise, next time you're there, whether it's tomorrow night or in the future, head up to the fourth floor. They're happy to help you with, even as session comes to a close, helping you to understand how to navigate decision-making processes, how to conduct legislative research, provide testimony, and things of that nature. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your hard work. And I'm happy to take back any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Zephanie. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Anybody in the community have any questions for Senator Stanley Chang? Zephanie, please let the senator know that I enjoyed running into him at the coffee shop the other day, and that I will be reaching out as we discussed to sit down and discuss the homeless issue with him in Kāhala. Would love if we get a little walking tour together. So tell him to bring out his walking shoes. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm so glad you had that interaction. Yeah, we're hoping that you have an opportunity to, and I'm sure there's a lot more of that to come. So I will relay that message to him now. Have a great evening, everyone.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. All right, let's fly, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, resident community concerns. This is not involving the dojo subject. So if anybody here in the community has any concerns they'd like to bring present and forward, not involving the dojo, please speak and be heard at this time. Pardon? No, they emailed in. They're coming up next. Up next, board business, unfinished business and presentations. Approval of Thursday's. No, that's right. We don't have quorum. Skip. Election board secretary. Skip. Update venue. Skip. Permitted interactions. Skip. New business and presentations. Excellent. Let's see here. The Kilauea Avenue, we have received reports of a chronic vehicle occupation and street maintenance concern involving vehicles being left parked along several avenues over there, and homeless individuals living in their vehicles, causing concerns and disturbances near public parks as well. Actually, Chair Waters, I believe we drove by and witnessed a couple of those ourselves. So another citizen calling out that that issue. So we'll make note of that. DTS, that's handled. Oh, in positive news involving all of the flooding that we've been receiving, I'm sure many of you saw the videos in Kaimuki where part of the neighborhood was underwater and had a standing wave. We are happy to report that the Waiʻalae Nui stream, or sorry, hold on, where'd you go? The Waiʻalae Avenue repaving beneath the Kāhala Viaduct. No, wait, no, sorry. Jeez. Waiʻalae Nui channel improvement. So they are going to be improving company as leaders Ray Santos is going to be construction upgrades to the Waiʻalae Nui channel, which comes up that valley, comes all the way down into the ocean. They are going to be making several large improvements to that area to assist with flooding damage and to hopefully help increase the amount of water that those areas can process. So love to see that something is being done about that already as well. And I think we've avoided it for as long as we can. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the meat and potatoes of it all. Our last meeting, Dr. Grace O'Neill had the opportunity to speak. Bob, you kindly asked to be heard later on in the issue of fairness. since you weren't allowed to present last time, I'd like to allow you to present first this time. And then anybody let's make it easy for everybody. Anybody in support of it, please can line up behind him and speak afterwards. And then the community who's shown up as well in opposition to this matter, once that group has been heard, we will come back to you since several members of your group were heard at our last meeting. I'm making this up on the spot, but this seems about as fair as we can get this evening. So let's get into it, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Bob DeWitz, and I'm here representing Hawaii Kudo Foundation, which is a nonprofit entity promoting the traditional Japanese discipline of archery called Kudo, sometimes called Zen archery. We entered into a public-private partnership with the City Department of Parks a year and a half ago, where we offered to build and maintain a Japanese archery dojo if the city would furnish land. And the reason we did that, what you see before you, let me just walk you through this. This is the proposed facility at Mountain Mai Nature Park. The bottom of the screen is the existing grassy area referred to typically as the dog park. It's about an acre. Where the dojo is about a little bit over half an acre, including the parking. At the top of the screen, there's a 19 stall parking lot, which is crushed gravel, not concrete, so that's permeable. There's a meeting room, which would be open for public use for, any community group that wanted to use it. And then the shooting gallery where the archers position themselves to shoot towards the target house is just a large wooden floored open gallery. So if it was not being used for Kudo, it could be used for Tai Chi or yoga or any sort of movement-based activity. For those of you who don't know, Kudo is performed essentially wearing tabi socks. People don't lift their feet. They slide along the floor. They shoot from a kneeling and an arching, sitting position. So they really can't do it out on the ground like you do on a Western archery range. They really need a floor. And then the target house is just a large open face shed with a large sand berm in it. The targets are placed at the foot of the sand berm. And in this geography here, to the right of the target house, that wooded area is actually the land owned by the Board of Water Supply. So they're shooting towards the Board of Water Supply property. So that's the concept, is we would develop this thing, donate it to the city, so it becomes city property, and would be operated under the Parks Department. So next slide, please. So I told you what Kudo is, and it's really not about a competition. It's sort of a mindless thing. And that's why you don't see a lot of the Kudo people here supporting this. That's not what they're about. They are not going to stir controversy in the community. I'm here as their spokesman. We are not going to be divisive, and we're not going to cause a rift in the community. I'm here to present the facts. If at the end of this fact-finding journey, there's a consensus that doesn't fit, so be it. But I think it's important, whether at this location or some other location, that we do have a clear understanding of what it encompasses and what the facts may be, because it would these same questions will recur at any other situation. So why would this matter to the community? In the 1920s, 40% of the population in Hawaii was Japanese American. 40% because of the immigrant workers. Prior to World War II, there were a dozen Kudo clubs in Honolulu. Wartime hysteria. They confiscated the bows and arrows. They sent people to concentration camps and destroyed a big part of the culture. Kudo survived. There's been a club here for 125 years, but it took a hit. And it took another hit 10 years ago when the city shut down the last public Kudo facility, which was at Catalanic Park. So, I mean, as a community, we've done everything we could to kill Kudo. And so we want to bring it back. It's important. We have 100 and some people maybe who practice right now, but there are a lot more who would like to, who could, but we make it almost impossible to do so. So this will help restore a connection to the Japanese heritage that is so important to the community. And in addition to that, it is a mindset thing. So we think it builds better citizens through this self-discipline. So that's why we think Kudo is valuable to the community. And also, you know, it's a multi-use facility and it will be a public asset. So it's not selfish. It's not just for the Kudo people. Okay, so I think it's worth listening to. Next slide, please. You know, it's modest in scale. This development is 0.57 acres, including the parking. It's less than 2% of Mountain Mine Nature Park. That's the park outlined in yellow. That's the structure and that's the parking. If you just look at the structure itself is about 5,000 square feet. In perspective, that's less than 2 tennis courts in terms of structure. So it's modest. It's not humongous. It's not giant slabs of concrete. It's 2 tennis courts. Next slide, please. You know, there's been concern that it's not a permitted use. It's not an allowable use. You know, the law is the law. Everybody has to abide by it. Us, Department of Parks, everybody. The project does meet the law and the criteria. And as Chair Waters referenced earlier, there is a primary urban development center plan, which is intended to guide how we use our public lands. And the policies in that plan that are pointed at parks call out some specific things that this project meets. One, it talks about investing in park facilities that serve all age groups, all kinds of activities. And Kudo works for people from their teens to their 80s. So it serves a lifetime for people who do it. Plus the facility would support these other uses, Tai Chi, yoga, hula, you name it. The second policy that it meets is it encourages public-private partnerships because there's never enough money. So it encourages finding creative ways to develop these facilities. So that's what we intend to do, is relieve the financial burden from the taxpayer. And then finally, it talks about developing programs in parks because activating the parks has a synergistic effect in that it gets rid of the negative activities, homelessness, dumping, and you know, bad activities in the parks. So the project meets these 3 policies objectives. And you know, it meets all of the land use and the other criteria, or doesn't get through DPP. Fact. Okay. So, you know, legally, technically, it has to comply with the law. Next slide, please. Some concerns. And you know, I've been listening to the community concerns for months now and trying to address them. But I want to address them here because if it comes up again, I want you to know about it. Safety. You hear about bows and arrows, safety. You know, we hired professional architects and engineers. We computer modeled the arrow path. And wherever there was a vector where an arrow could go, we designed a barrier to stop it before it could leave the archery range. And in response to comments from some of the folks here who said, well, those barriers are plastic netting that can deteriorate over time, I said, I'm with you. We've changed the design. We're going to replace 2 of the 3 barriers with metal barriers. The third barrier needs to be removable, but we'll back it up with a wooden fence. So, I mean, we've done the engineering, we've computer modeled. There is no vector for an arrow to escape, period. It's a non-issue. The design using these barriers is used in hundreds of dojos in Japan, in Tokyo, very dense urban areas. Unlike the Kapiolani Park facility, which was unsupervised, and that's why they had an incident there, is to the best I can research, somebody deliberately shot an arrow up into the air. There would never be operations here without a supervising range master to make sure somebody wasn't horsing around. And then the buffer zone. We have barriers on the sides. We have barriers preventing arrows going into the air. And then where the targets are, they're firing towards the Board of Water Supply. There's a big house, big shed there that contains the targets that at its front is about 14 feet high. So the arrows are not going to go over that, but if they do, that's the Board of Water Supply property back there, and there's no public access to it. And we met with the Board of Water Supply, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. There's been a nonstop concern about drainage and flooding in the neighborhood. It's absolutely a problem, but it's absolutely not part of the dojo problem. The flooding that occurs there is the runoff from above Cocoa Head and other things by the building code, by law. This development must contain its runoff on site using a catchment system that allows the water to percolate back into the soil. So it's not going to fix the flooding problem in the neighborhood, but it's not going to make it worse. It's not going to contribute to it by law, by building code. You have licensed engineers who design this stuff. They don't design it that way, they get sued. Okay, so that's a fact. The drainage issue is off the table. Next slide, please. Cultural and archaeological. It's required by the environmental assessment to do this study. Mount Waiʻalae Nature Park. Mount Waiʻalae, and you probably know this, is the name of the entire ridge that most of us call Wilhelmina Rise. Continues all the way up to the summit of the Coal House. It's Mount Waiʻalae summit. This project is in the gulch, if you will. I don't know what else to call it. But there was a detailed archaeological and cultural assessment done on the specific site, the, half-acre, 2-acre site of that particular parcel. And the findings, and these are by, professional archaeologists, is that extensively altered in the past. About, I'd say 70 to 80 years ago, the site where the dojo was planned was bulldozed. We've done the soils test. It's got anywhere from 1 to 3 feet of overfill that was brought in from somewhere. Overfilled the whole site. So that area has been adulterated for a long time. The archaeologists found no storied places within the known project area. They found no traditional cultural practices ongoing in the project area. The nearest heiau was identified as being up in the Sierra Drive vicinity, about a mile from the site. So no heiau in the site. There was some rumor going around about that, but the archaeologists say no. And most of the plants are invasive species. These are the facts of the finding. Next slide, please. So there's a big concern as to niche use and about neighborhoods. And I thank Chair Waters for doing a survey, because one of the hardest things I had to get my hands around was what is the true sentiment of the community? Because you'll hear from some people and other people remain quiet. So it takes an effort to get people to give you input. My humble effort was to physically sit in the park from sunrise to sunset for 7 days and talk to people. And what I found, of the people who came to the park, 66% support it. And I've got a lot of great comments. I mean, I can share those with you. I've redacted the names, but hey, it's about time somebody did something with this. It looks like a great project. You know, I'm glad somebody's going to clean it up. So there's a segment of folks who want this. There's a segment of folks who don't want it. And I get that. And there's a whole bunch of people who don't really give a rip. So whether you want to call this representative or not, it's a data point, as is the information that Chair Waters got, which I think is good information. Interesting point I think that we should consider is intensity of use. I counted the number of people, most of them were dog walkers, and the average stay in the park, I'd say, was about 3 minutes. I did the math, and that comes out to about 10 hours of usage of the park a week. The weather was kind of bad that week, so double it. Call it 20 man hours or person hours of use a week in the existing dog park. For the Q Dojo, given our schedule and the number of people who use it, we would start out with 180 person hour of use of the park a week. So a very substantial increase in usage of this otherwise vacant scrubland park versus the acre that's right now being pretty lightly used. So I don't think it's fair to say that it's not going to be utilized, that it's not good return on investment compared to the existing use. Next slide, please. Common questions that came up. And again, whether it's here or some other park, the same questions are going to come up. So I think it's important that we answer them. Privatization of the park. Private entity is going to take public parkland away. That's absolutely wrong. We're going to donate this facility to the city, and it gets operated under DPR rules. It's a public asset, period. End of story. Public safety, we talked about that. It's been engineered to death. Concern, it removes green space. And that's very important to the folks here. I know it's a very passionate point. We live on an island. It's a trade-off. What's a reasonable trade-off? We're saying it's, less than 2% of this 30-acre park. Is that a fair trade-off? That's a value judgment. Some people will think it is, some won't, but 98% of this 30-acre park remains untouched. Neighborhoods support, we talked about that. Small group, we talked about that. Drainage problems, we talked about that. So that's kind of the common questions that came up. Next slide, please. I think there are benefits to the community. I mean, it's a multi-use facility. It's open for all other uses. It's limited only by the imagination of the community on what they want to use this meeting room for. The archery range itself is a big open grass space. It can be used for lots of things. It's a safe, supervised programming. It's no cost to the taxpayers. It activates this park space, which right now does have some homelessness and some dumping and some other issues. And we have coordinated with other groups who want to reforest the park. And in fact, the representative that the opponents of this project presented last night, I met with their operations people 7 months ago to talk about how we could support the reforestation of Mountain Mai by tying it into our irrigation system. And those experts told me that irrigation for the seedlings in their starting stages is really critical and saves them a lot of labor. So, we've tried to be proactive to find a win-win, how we can, make this a broader community benefit and improve the park overall. It's a trade-off. Okay, we'll take a little small piece of it to do this, but we can synergize the reforestation and the improvement of the rest of the park. Next slide, please. The aloha spirit. We live on an island. It's tough. There's not enough public land. Absolutely. The zoning laws are very strict. I mean, I look for private property, and you can't do this anymore except in a public park because of the zoning. And so, do we accommodate each other and try to find a middle ground? And And what I'd like to close with is the actions of, I'm a keyboard last night. The director of Parks and Rec, Laura Thielen, came, and I think she made a very sincere reach out to everybody and said, look, nothing's a done deal. We want to hear from everybody. We want all the input. And at the end of the day, there's probably going to be a consensus on whether it makes sense or not. And I commend the Kaimuki Community Board. I mean, the folks here are disappointed that they didn't pass a resolution in opposition of this because they passed a resolution in support of it in October. But I think what the Kaimuki Board wisely did was said, look, we want to establish a permitted interactive group, get all the people together, and at least find a common basis of the facts. Let's take the passion out of it. Let's sit down. Let's wring out the facts. And if we all understand the same set of facts, and then we're going to talk about our different values. And at the end of the day, there will be a consensus. And the consensus will reflect the sentiment of the community and what makes sense. So, you know, I don't think anything is a done deal. I think there's a process to work through. And, you know, we appreciate everybody participating in that. And that's sort of the end of the story, my part.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I know a couple of our board members are going to have some quick questions.
3 quick questions. One, given like a 10-hour day, what percentage of the time do you think that your area would be used for archery?
So the initial schedule that we proposed would be one weeknight, like from 7 to 9 or 10, and then a Saturday and a Sunday, probably afternoon, or maybe a Saturday morning and a Sunday afternoon. So the beginning schedule would be about 12 hours a week.
Okay.
Lee, due to
The second
time
question
concerns,
you
I'm gonna-
answered because of,
Lee,
you said, yes.
due to time concerns, I'm going to ask you to do one more question, then we'll just kind of keep everything.
Well, he answered the second question that they're going to be having a night session. The third question I have is, why are you presenting to this board?
I'm presenting because the folks here in opposition to it came here last week, seeing that the park is kind of an asset for this whole section of the island, I think was the point. So I wanted to make sure that you folks had the opportunity to see maybe both sides of the issue.
Thank you.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions?
Yeah, thank you for presenting. I guess I have questions like, so are you using like the Hawaii State procurement process to build your facility through like the whole public thing? Are you doing a private construction, selecting your own private individuals and doing it non-union work?
Because we would build and own the facility until it was donated to the city, we don't have to provide, go by the public procurement rules. But I've already lined up all union contractors to do the work just because they're the most reliable and professional.
Sure. And then I guess, are you doing any additional community give back beyond the restoration of the park? Are you going outside the expanses, like improving other community aspects beyond specifically improving the site for your use?
As I said, we've upsized our irrigation system to support the reforestation of the upper part of the park and designed that in. At the suggestion of one of the community members, we added the community definitely did not want public restrooms. That was made clear to me early on because they said it attracts problems. So what we did as a compromise was put an exterior restroom that had a locked door on. So, for example, I guess periodically there's a dog obedience class there. If there's a dog obedience class going on and the person in charge of that wants the key code to use that restroom during the class, then yeah, that's available for them.
Okay, and then, sorry, hopefully 2 quick questions last. So I guess since you clearly said, I guess two parts. Let me start with the first one. How long is your lease? And then the second one is how accessible are you allowing your foundation to operate it and make it available to the public, right? Are you only limiting the hours of where you're keeping a groundskeeper or a range master for your intended use hours, so then like the public is then required to augment based on your hours? Or are you keeping a fully staffed operational facility throughout park hours, traditional park hours?
I'm sorry, what was your first question? I missed the first question.
Your lease.
We don't have a lease. We have a 25-year partnership agreement with the city. So we don't have a lease on the land.
Okay. And then are you bonded for that? Are you bonded for that lease or the use of the use?
No.
Because I mean, if you're saying as a part of the public-private partnership, you should be bonded as maintaining the park access for that duration of the time. Because if your foundation goes bankrupt or whatever, then the facility just becomes delinquent and a mess. So like without that resources of making sure that that park is consistently operational and maintained and open to the public, I don't understand how it gives back to the community.
Okay. We don't have a lease. The facility becomes the city's property after it's complete. So the city takes care of it like another park facility. We don't have any really, I can't see the need for a bond in that scenario because there's a non-performance clause in our agreement. If we don't perform, they terminate us, the city terminates us and they take over the park operations. So the second part of your question is hours. You know, the initial hours are set based on what we see the number of users. So we want to have one session for classes to teach new people, and the classes will be free to teach new people the sport. We want to have one session for existing clubs who'll book time in advance. And then we want to have one session that's open for anybody who's passed the safety qualifications and can operate safely for open shooting. That's just initially. So then as demand grows, we'll of course adjust those schedules. And again, that's just for the Kudo part of the facility. The other part of the facility, the meeting room or the use of the Kudo facility when it's not being used for Kudo, gets booked through the DPR website.
Thank you very much. I have a few quick questions. Is this a religious organization?
Not at all. Zero.
Okay. I would like to express a hesitancy as well with Colin's point. Oftentimes we see the community take over or be forced to take on things that wasn't ours to begin with because the state's failure to create a contract with equity in case a group falls out of favor, no longer has the financial means to provide. I think we've seen that with Doris Duke when it was handed over to the DLNR. The harbor over there is now going to be a $14 million bill to the state. So I think that concern is reasonable. Let's see. Do you have anybody else here with you this evening who would like to speak in support?
I will tell you, my constituents are not people who want to create controversy in the community. They've made a deliberate decision not to protest, not to wave signs, not to wear shirts, not to come here in numbers and disrupt things.
Okay. The Kaimuki board voted on this, yes?
Kaimuki board voted in October a resolution in support of. They were asked, they presented a resolution yesterday to oppose that was voted on and it was not approved. And then they took an action to establish a permitted interaction group and that was approved. So the Kaimuki board at this point has established that permitted action group. And I presume there'll be a follow-up action in a couple of months saying, you know what, we don't approve of this or we do.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the presentation that you brought before us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are running short on time. However, it is my objective to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to be heard here this evening. So if we can have you guys line up. I do want to make it very clear tonight, we do not have quorum. And what that means is that we cannot vote in favor or in opposition to this. In addition to that as well, too, the Kaimuki board has also voted on this issue. I hold a certain hesitancy in overstepping on another board's vote. However, since we do not have quorum, this will give us time to reach out to the Kaimuki board, hear what they have to say on this, and then that way, the next time we meet, we'll be able to have a more educated opinion and position on this. Let us begin, please. Introduce yourself, 1 minute on clock.
My name's Colette, and I'm just wanting to give you a timeline and of things that happened. Now, to say I am, yes, half Japanese, and the other half is Hawaiian and Caucasian. So I've got every culture covered. So there's nothing that anybody can say that I didn't grow up with. But, okay, he was told, Mr. DeWitt was told to get community support or get community input. February of 2025, he went to 12 houses around the park. Now, I would imagine that not everybody was home, but the people who were there said that they were told it was a done deal. They had no input.
30 seconds.
Okay, then in May, they signed the contract with the city. Still nobody knew anything about it. It showed up just before the holidays, November of last year. That's when everybody figured it out. And so we tried to start from there. So I told him to reach out to more people, and he said, okay, 63 houses I'll reach out to. Tommy Waters sent out surveys to 2,000 people.
That's time, miss.
The number of people, he just told you 180. Last year, he said 75 in February.
Miss, your 1 minute is up. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm just telling you what he's been saying, and it is not 2% of the park. It is 20%, including the park.
Thank you very much, miss. Appreciate you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is David. Thank you, David Ross. And I know you expect me to talk about my little park, which, by the way, nobody calls a dog park except when they're derogating it. I'm here to talk about your parks. We're blessed in East Honolulu to have lots of lovely little neighborhood green areas. We're blessed in East Honolulu to have some lovely neighborhood green spaces. And I'm not talking about big parks like Kapilani Park or Ala Moana Park, but little neighborhood parks like Triangle Park, like that little one up on Kamole Mini Park, whatever it's called. Peaceful spaces where you can walk to, have a sandwich, throw a Frisbee, teach your kid how to hit a baseball.
30 seconds.
We think of these as our local neighborhood parks, and the ideas for improvements come from our neighbors. But now they're talking, last night, Laura Thielen talked about activating parks, activated city, our city approved organized activities, not just using the park as a park.
10 seconds.
And because of that, I can't do this in 10 seconds. Sorry.
That's all right. Again, I would like to apologize for the time limit. The reason why we have it in place this evening, the gentleman over here, he's the one who keeps the facility open. If we could have it my way, we'd be here till 1 o'clock in the morning having this discussion, but he has to go home to his family and they also have to close down this facility at a certain point. So just wanted to explain that. Miss, please go right ahead.
Hey, I'm McKenna. I'll make this pretty quick, but I grew up playing at 16th Avenue Park and I enjoyed walking through those nature trails that will be gone. Outside of the drainage issues, as Bob is saying that this won't cause more issues, but what if he's wrong? As everybody saw on the news, 16th Avenue completely flooded and cars were floating down Keanu and it totally ruins people's houses down there. My biggest concern is the proposed driveway placement at the hairpin turn, which presents a significant traffic hazard. Introducing a new entry point at such a blind and tight curve increases the likelihood of accidents. This is particularly concerning as I have a 7-month-old, so this is really dangerous proposal for a driveway. It's a very busy road from all the people living up and down the hill, and people just fly around that corner. So that's just really outside of everything. That's my biggest concern.
Thank you very much.
My name is Juanita Liu, and with respect to this project,
there was a master plan for this nature park, which is quite unusual. So the first two goals of it, which I think should be honored, is leaving the park as natural as possible. Second is allowing only passive recreation activities. And this is important, not because of the aesthetics, but because there is an aquifer under it. Now, last night, a civil engineer who worked for the Army Corps of Engineers said that this development would present two problems. One is affecting the permeability of this
seconds.
watershed area, which is at the bottom of this slope, which captures the water into the aquifer. The second is any runoff because of this development that will affect the amount of water that would be going into the aquifer. That is why the resolution asked for an EIS. And it was not saying no to the project, but it was just requiring an EIS.
That's
Thank
fine,
you.
miss. Thank you very much.
My name is Suzanne Malter-Tun. I have lived in the Kaimiki area all my life. I was brought up there. When my husband and I bought a home, we bought a home on Cocoa Drive, which is very near Maumai Park. But prior to that, I worked in Japan, and I had a friend who had a dog, and the dog had an injury. We took the dog to the vet, thinking that somebody had used a slingshot or some such thing and hurt the dog in that way. But the vet said
30 seconds.
that the injury was caused by an arrow from a Japanese archery, a kyodo. So I am very wary of any type of bullets or arrows to be nearby in the neighborhood
10 seconds.
where children play and where people walk their dogs, but people enjoy the greenery around. When my husband and I were younger,
It's time, miss. Thank you very
go
much.
hiking there.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Merle Wu, and I live on Cocoa Drive. We've been there for a long time. I just wanted to make a distinction that Maumai is a nature park. It's not a community park. And Honolulu community parks like Kapiolani Park are highly developed, staffed, and used for recreation, sports, and events, offering playgrounds and restrooms. Nature parks like Maumai Nature Park are generally unimproved and preserve the green space
30 seconds.
for passive use and scenic value, often lacking facilities to prioritize environmental preservation. So I would like to preserve the green space at Maumai.
Thank you very much, miss.
Hi, just something quick. I know I spoke last time, but I just want to emphasize that we have a change.org petition. We already have 1,025 signatures asking for the dojo, the archery range, not to be built in our park. So I think that's significant. I know Bob did his boots on the ground survey, and I looked at it, and there are pieces of paper with redacted, emails and everything. So I don't feel like that's as accurate as a change.org petition that has third-party verification. So, and I also wanted to mention that we were going to, we have a plan. We've been working with Protect and Preserve Hawaii, and we're going to come up with a plan to plant some native plants in the park that don't require irrigation. I think that is more sustainable to have plants that do not require irrigation because that is a cost to the taxpayer. So we're developing that right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
My name is Ben Wu, and I lived on Cocoa Drive since the 70s. I just have two things. I want everyone to know we're not against the kyodo. We're just not wanting it in that park. Why not put it back at Kapiolani Park or at some other park, maybe Kokoed Park, the botanical gardens where there's already parking. You don't need to build parking. And it's already an active park. And the other question, maybe for Bob or for the city, is that once it's donated to the city or given back to the city, is the city required to maintain the building? Because they're not always the best.
20 seconds.
So, that's my concern. Thank you.
Much. Does anybody else wish to speak and be heard? I would like to thank you all for, oh, go ahead. For this right now. Regarding this matter, I would like to thank you and apologize again for the 1-minute limitation, given the time constraints and the fact that this is taking place outside of our immediate jurisdiction or vicinity, our bounds, our district. Thank you. I do appreciate you all working with it given the time constraints this evening. I would also like to reiterate, I brought it up at our last meeting, but Dr. Grace O'Neill, who is one of the leading opposition members against the dojo, has I have a fiduciary interaction with her. One of my companies provides landscaping companies for her personal home. So I want to fully disclose that and make sure that that is fully heard out loud. Outside of that, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to come here and speak this evening. It's marvelous to see the community be involved in such a way. And the conversation on both sides seems to be very civil, which it hasn't always been. So thank you to both groups on that. Moving on real quick. Kahi, I know that you had something that you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, just quickly, I live in the Kāhala Valley, but I'm hoping to be the state representative for this part of this district. So I just wanted to invite those that were interested in the Kāhala and Upper Kāhala area to a talk story that I'm hosting on May 2nd at Kuli'o'o Beach Park. Thanks to the city and county for offering these beautiful spaces. I want to share that I love the parks and want to get the community out there. So if you want to come learn more about me and my campaign, I'm running up against Mark Hashem. He's been in there for 16 years, and this will be my first time going at it, and I'd like to be the change. So come and learn more. I'll be around too if you want to talk to me after this meeting.
And thank you very much for that announcement. And also thank you for taking the time to show up in person. I think this is 2 or 3 times now we've been lucky enough to have you here. For even hearing on everything, we need to ask who else you're running against. And Mark Hashem. And if Mark Hashem is here, if you'd like to take 60 seconds on the clock to speak, that is available to him. 3, 2. Are there any other candidates here or online who'd like to make themselves known? All right, legally we're buttoned up. Thank you very much. Are there any other groups who would like to speak and be heard this evening? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for. Oh. So we're not doing the recess next month?
Change she wants to change.
We will not be doing a recess next month as we currently understand it. More to come on that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for participating with your neighborhood board this evening. Y'all have a great evening. We are adjourned.